Followed by Kevin.
Good evening.
I'd like to thank you very much, Governor Malloy and Nancy Lyman, for coming into East Hartford and holding this forum. And my one disappointment when I learned that Nancy Lyman was running for lieutenant governor when the first ran, and was that she was not running for governor.
Yeah, great.
Under the Federation of Connecticut Taxpayer Organizations, and frequently we called on Nancy Lyman for information, and as soon as we asked for it, we received it. So excellent public official. I'm here to say that, well, first of all, I don't think you can discount the former couple of speakers as being naysayers as it relates to the management of the state of Connecticut. I too take issue with many of the things that you have done. I do recognize, however, that you came in with a situation that was created by past governors, and you have a task in front of you to try and correct it. I would take issue, however, with the manner in which you are doing it in lending so much money, and if it was lending, it might be one thing, but many of these are grants. And when the Hartford Business Journal takes issue with you, and the fact that you are lending or giving so much money to these various companies, you have to recognize that many of the entities that have taken issue with the management of the state of Connecticut have not just been individuals, such as myself or the past couple of speakers, but in fact, Forbes magazine, the Hartford Business Journal, etc. So my primary question to you would be, having myself served as under a strong mayor form of government by charter here in East Hartford, recognizing the constraints upon the elected officials in the 169 towns throughout Connecticut due to binding arbitration and collective bargaining laws, that we cannot, local officials cannot manage their towns. They can't manage their finances. They can't manage their personnel as long as these laws are so impactful upon the elected officials that they in turn impact us as taxpayers. Every time a union contract goes behind closed doors and ultimately the folks come out with an agreement, then the next thing that happens is a bill is then sent to the taxpayers. In the state of Connecticut, the 169 towns, approximately 80 to 90% pay for personnel-related expenses. That's not unusual. Government is a service-related industry. However, when you have situations, as you do now, those laws need to change. At minimum, bring the negotiation table out from behind closed doors of secrecy and thrust it into the light of public debate so that we know what is being negotiated between management and between unions.
Well, thank you very much. Let me point out to you. You took a deep breath. Let me. I want to share some things. Listen, nobody's perfect. I'm certainly not. My wife tells me that every single day. So I want to be very clear about that. But as I stand before you, after 3.5 years as governor, I can tell you that Connecticut owes $11.6 billion less than it did the day I was sworn into office. That is no small accomplishment. In fact, let me be very clear. No governor, to my knowledge, in recent time has in fact decreased the total outstanding obligations of the state of Connecticut. Now let me be also very clear, because you pointed out and brought up the issue of pensions and employee benefits. That's an area where we've made tremendous progress during the time that Nancy and I have been in office. And in fact, that accounts for even more than $11.6 billion in savings. But the reality is that we went a step further. And we realigned our expectations with respect to what would be received based on actuarial investments returns. And so, although we saved more money in renegotiating our contract with our state employees than $11.6 billion on a net basis, that's what we did. Now, I know that you and I probably are from different parties, but the reality is that, you know, I got hired with, there was a $3.6 billion deficit in the state of Connecticut. I went to the table. I had those discussions with the unions. We reached an agreement. And the agreements that we reached in Connecticut moved our state much further along than most of the states that didn't take the time or bother to negotiate. For instance, in New Jersey, Republican governor, he declared an emergency. He went to the legislature and got the legislature to change those obligations without negotiation. And then he reached an agreement that did not require that he had to properly fund those obligations for a total of 9 years, when the total outstanding obligation would in fact be larger than it was on the day that the legislature acted. That's not unlike what one of my predecessors did when he entered into a 20-year transaction guaranteeing benefits for the employees. I didn't do that. I didn't do that. You know the name of the governor who did it 20 years ago. You probably voted for him. I got hired to straighten out that mess. And I'm doing the best I can. And I think we're making progress. Those of us in this room, those of us in this place. No one should be satisfied until the job is completely done. But is it a lot faster than it's ever happened before in the state of Connecticut? The answer is yes. You can't name a governor who turned a $3.6 billion deficit into a $500 million surplus.
Damn Malloy.
That's the other than that. And so, I mean, I hear, you know, if you're talking about municipal rules and regulations, listen, I think some municipalities have made bad mistakes. But I also believe that there are ways to rectify that. I know that I ran a city that had a AAA bond rating. I know that at times that I was mayor of my city, we had pension plans that were in excess of 100% funded. Don't damn everybody for the mistakes of some. And I understand, and the mayor's in a tough spot trying to straighten out some things that have happened over a period of time, some of it going back 15 years. But I believe it's possible. I believe the kind of relationship that I have with many municipal officials, because of my municipal background, not only was I mayor for 14 years, but I served on the Board of Finance in our city, citywide elected board for 11 years. I served on the Board of Education for a year before I became mayor for 14 years. And then they did a terrible thing to me. They changed the charter, and for the last 4 years they put me back on the Board of Education. I mean, that was tough. Being mayor's hard. As I say in the Board of Education, you always have to show up to the meeting, otherwise they might elect you president. So, so I get it. And I'm not sure you and I are going to agree about everything, but I'm telling you, we cut the total outstanding obligations, not just the bonded debt, but the OPEB, other post-employment and pension benefit account, by $11.6 billion.
One very, very quick comment. First of all, I sincerely compliment Mayor Marcia LeClaire, and I do nearly every town council meeting. And the reason being is that she is the only CEO in the state of Connecticut who has taken the initiative in the name of transparency, which the state has done, Governor Rowland, and you actually putting that transparency website up. For those folks who don't know, we have a state of Connecticut transparency website where you can view the employees' wages, health care, etc., and pensions. I would ask you, Governor Malloy, if you could initiate a proposal with the legislature requiring any municipality that receives state funding to, and has a website, to be required to do what Mayor Marcia LeClaire has taken the lead in doing.
Well, thank you. I'll take it under consideration. I hadn't thought of that. As you know, I signed an executive order on transparency affecting state government, and all data with that, very limited exceptions, will be available in state government on our website.